Hey, I'm Pete. Welcome to my workshop. I'm just been building this new space over the past few months really, but now I'm almost getting to the point where I'm finishing it off. So stay tuned, you'll see lots of videos coming from here in the future. Today what we're going to be doing is fitting a Linishing tool to this old 8-inch bench grinder. So let me show you what came and how to go about putting that on this kind of grinder. So this is the Linishing tool that I bought off eBay. It's extra machinery model LA915, as you can see. It's quite a good kit. When I was looking at the photos, I could see that it was made from quite thick steel. So I'm happy to say that when I got it, it was as it was advertised. It came with the 3 belts. It also came with the 8-inch round as well to put on that. And it comes with quite good instructions as well. So that was good. The aluminium drum, also quite nice. I was quite impressed with the machining on that as well. And it came also with some spacers. So as you go, which we'll do shortly as we go through that installation process, we'll see what the idea of those different spacers are. It also comes with the guide so that you can rest material on it and feed that in as well. A rest, I guess you'd call it. And then of course all the bolts and things that you need to get that assembled. So I'm going to show you the process of what I'm going to go through to put this Linishing tool onto this old grinder. So this is a very old, it would probably be 1970s vintage. It's an 8-inch skill, as you can see. And I'm just gonna rip in and go through the installation procedure on this. I have done this before because I needed to work out if it was all gonna fit together. And since I worked out how to do it, I thought I'd share it as well. So let's do it. Now something to remember here, the one on the right is a standard right-hand thread. The one on the left is actually a left-hand thread. I'm just going to put a glove on here because I need to grab this wire wheel at some stage and I don't really want to give myself any damage. So just going to crack off this one here. So that So we're going to reuse this nut later on as well. Thick washer, the actual grinding wheel, and another thick washer will come off quite simply. Next step is going to be to remove this guard here. So because of the vintage of this machine, this is all UNC or Imperial. So the threads are all Imperial as well. So if you just have a look closely here, you'll see that there is a bit of a step on here, but there's also a very small step here as well. So what I worked out that I had to do here is when I go and grab the Linishing part, because this is just a flat plate here, and because I've got this tiny little step here, I really wanted to space that out a little bit so that I can actually torque it down, and that's gonna hold quite flush. The other thing that I did is I used slightly longer bolts than the ones that they supplied. The ones they supplied were also in hex style that you need an Allen key for, but these ones I'll show you why I wanted to run with these ones as well. So a little bit tricky because I'm going to need to put that nut or that washer just as a spacer behind that location there. Of course, once you've got the first one, the others are much easier. Okay, so they're all fitted there and spaced out nicely. The reason that I wanted to use a standard bolt here as well is on the instructions it shows that you can use this Linishing tool in a vertical fashion as well. However, Unfortunately, there's no lever to unlock anything to be able to do that. So it just relies on you being able to loosen those bolts. So I'll show you what my plan is for that later. But basically, once that's on there, all nicely centered, I can nip those up. Now the next step is to grab your wheel, the main drive wheel, and basically what you're going to need to do here is slip this on and then measure this distance in between here, and you need to adjust that. It needs to be between 6 and 8 millimeters. So I just used vernier calipers to measure the gap into there. And this is where I found that I had a little bit of a problem with this particular machine because of that little step down in there. So what I ended up having to do was to make this spacer up. I bought this spacer. It's just a standard 20 mil OD, 15 mil ID, 10 millimeter thick. But I did have to bore it out because this is a 5/8 of an inch. And plus you want a little bit of clearance, so approximately 16 millimeters is perfect for that. And then I also, because the hole is actually about 20 millimeters, which is the same as that, I just put a little shoulder on that as well, so that is not going to be an issue with clearance there. So that goes on there. The drive wheel slips on, and that's where I measured my thickness here, and I've got 7.1 millimeters, so that's perfect within spec, no problems at all. Just grab the washer. So at this point I'm going to go with one of the big heavy 3mm washers, spring washer, and the original nut back on. Now the reason I went to a fair bit of effort with machining that little part as well is because you want it to run as true as possible. So you're always going to want this to be well balanced. Traditionally they're not that great because you're running sanding belts on them. So the better aligned it is, the better off you're going to be. So just going to nip this up. Just remember that this is aluminium too, so you don't want to damage that by dropping it or hitting it or anything. That's pretty much as tight as that needs to be. So you can see now if we run that, it's running quite true, which is great. I'm just going to clean up that surface before I put the belt on. So just a little bit of brake cleaner is always good for getting oils and contaminants off surfaces. I'm going to take it off that one and where the belt runs as well. So you can see the little bit of oxides that comes off that. The other thing too is if you look down from this angle here, you can see that this is not perfectly flat. It's actually slightly convex. Okay, here's the belt. These run only in one direction. So this is going to run in this way. So I'll make sure these arrows go in that same direction as well. Easiest way to get that on is actually to go over that part first. Then with this particular one, this lever over here actually helps you to release the tension on that. And it actually locks into place as well, which is quite good. So you can put that belt on. And then release that lever. And then make sure it runs true. Now the adjustment for this is basically undoing that lock nut and then changing this, and this will allow you to adjust the run of the belt. I've already adjusted that, so it's running quite even in between these 2 points here. So I'm quite happy with how that's running at the moment. Not very happy with how this is running over here. So obviously at some stage I've misaligned that just by holding it, the adjustments that I've done. Pretty sure that has little spaces, yeah. So I really need to do some work on spacing this out a bit better. I might use some of those spare washers that I've got to do that. But that's not really part of what we're doing now, so I'm just going to leave that off for now. So we're right to run this up now and just make sure it spins nicely and runs nice and true. We'll see how she goes. Very good. I mean, you can see a little bit of wobble in the belt, but that's really just the construction of the belt itself. They're not the best quality belts that you do get with it, but it's running nice and true on that. So far I'm very happy with that. So what I can do now is pop in this spacer and we can apply the round pad. So that's what this little spacer is here that they give you. So it's just going to pop into that. It'll be a nice push fit. It fits quite snug into that. And in fact, I'll give that a little tap. So this is just a Velcro style pads. So obviously they give you the one that needs to be glued onto there as well. And obviously you're just going to want to get this on as perfect as you can. If you've done a few mobile phone screen protectors, you'll easily be able to do this, I'm sure. So obviously the more important part is the backing pad at this stage, because you can always remove the sanding disc and relocate that. So that's that part done. So the final part is the rest. So this comes not assembled, so I've just attached this on here. It's quite simple. You can get some other attachments as well that you can put another rest on the front. And yeah, I don't really see much use for that one, but certainly this one is a useful thing to have for sure. Alright, let me just go and grab an Allen key for that one. So these are metric, which is good. It does also come with this little guide as well. There's even some marks on here, 0 degrees, 45 degrees and 60 degrees. I don't know if I see much use for this right now, so I'm actually going to leave that off. But basically that just screws up from underneath so that you can put that in position and lock it off. So I'm going to leave that one off for now, put that to the side. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Let's give it a little test with a bit of scrap steel. So I guess this is a really good example of things that you want to do on a linishing machine. Just get those sharp edges off things, maybe round some corners and that kind of thing. So let's have a look at doing that. Of course, I've got my safety glasses on. It just does it so quick, so easy. Very good. Come around this side and we'll have a go at this side of it. I mean, just such a great tool for making things so quick and easy. So overall, this particular machine I'm extremely impressed with. It's much cheaper than the Australian made and designed machine, but I'm happy to say that the thickness of the materials are good, the adjustment's very good, the quality actually looks really good. And the fitment to this machine, even almost 40 years old, was not a problem at all. So I'm sure it will fit on many different machines as well. The instructions are very good. Let me know if you want to see some more of that. It actually gives you some dimensions as to what to look for. I wasn't too worried because I knew I'd be able to make up some sort of spacer or adapter, which I've done, which has worked perfectly. So remember I was talking about using those hex bolts. The reason that I wanted to use a standard bolt was so that I could actually loosen them off from inside here. So I'll show you the reason for doing that. So I can loosen those off. Remember that there's 3. And once you've loosened those off, we can actually rotate this where we want it to. Lock those bolts back off, and now you've got your vertical belt, which is really good for sharpening knives and polishing purposes. So another really good feature of this, I thought that was very easy. I just needed some slightly longer bolts anyway. I had some 1/4" bolts that were a little bit longer, and it worked really perfectly. It was really good. Remember to subscribe if you want to get more videos come through. Also remember the bell so that you get notifications, and I'll also leave the link for this hardware that I purchased, so if you're looking for the same one, you'll be able to find that as well. So overall, I could highly recommend this machine. You'll see it get a lot of use in this workshop. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got the information that you need, and maybe encourage you to go out and get one for yourself. Catch you next time, and we'll see you again.